And I guess I just wanted to start to just follow on from a couple of things that Daryl and Andrew said. If we're talking about perception and the way we view people, I would pretty much suggest that everyone in this room would perceive my son as a low-functioning child with autism. Okay, so hopefully through this presentation I can actually show you that your perception is not our reality at all. Okay? So let's start. So what do we want for our kids? Like, why inclusive education? So I want for both my kids, Courtney, who's 21 and in her last year of uni, I hope, because we're sick of paying for it, and Devin, who's 18 and just starting his own business, to have meaningful and happy lives, to have a job they're passionate about and be valued by their family and friends. How do we find that for our kids with society's perceptions and expectations that they might label and push us into certain areas? So why inclusive education? For an inclusive life, and I think Andrew showed it beautifully with what the pathway you might think you're on, but what do you really want? What do you think is going to happen when you come out of school? And I hope my presentation can follow on from the informed choice idea that Andrew talked about. I really wanted to provide some practical examples of universal design at the high school level, which, you know, I'm not sure what age you are, but I'm sure that you hear, oh, look, it's fine till grade 3. But, you know, after that, the gap's too big. Okay, so that is just a complete fallacy. And how this universal design idea can support social inclusion for teenagers. Finally, just briefly looking at moving, because I'm not going to have enough time, moving to adult life and work. And I was just sitting there going, surely I am not that old that I can actually now talk about adult life and a job. But unfortunately I am. I do recall sitting in an audience just like you guys with questions, thinking to myself, I can't think one day in advance, let alone high school, let alone post-school. Oh my God, that just blew my mind. So maybe I will blow your mind today. Okay. Our family, this is going to be really brief, because I don't want to detract from the high school stuff. So our family did very intensive ABA early intervention with Devin. Over 40 plus hours a week with support staff, speech and OT. We left our home in Esperance and we moved back to Perth to get services. We spent a lot of money and energy doing programs for about 3 years. We tried segregated kindy and then inclusive kindy at our local school. We again tried segregated pre-primary half-time and half-time in our local kindy. We worked really hard because I made all the resources and all the Velcro and if anyone's done early intervention, you Velcro and you laminate everything. So I did that. I have to say, Devin picked up some, or quite a few, antisocial behaviours from the small group of children with disabilities in the segregated setting that he actually didn't have before. He seemed very much happier when he was in his local school. We ran out of money and energy at about halfway through pre-primary, and we moved back to Esperance for 4th term of pre-primary. Also, early intervention just ends at a certain age and they go, well, there you go, you've done it. Good on you, you're fixed. No, I'm not fixed and I still need help. You know, who's going to help me? Anyway, we decided that a small community would be good for Devin. We wanted to somehow have a normal life, and we moved back to Esperance. We met Daryl at a workshop a few weeks after we moved back to Esperance. I had, from all my learning of early intervention, and I'd set up a separate area in the classroom. I just can't even believe that I say this. He was there with his ABA stuff, with an EA, and the class was over here, so pre-primary. That's what I thought was best. I was like, well, he needs to be learning, he needs one-on-one, that's what we're going to do. Luckily, the teacher listened to me because I had previously worked at the school. He was distressed every single morning when I left. He was not happy. In no way was this like an ordinary happy life for him. So I remember 2 examples clearly, which I have to share with you. Daryl came into the school because I'd pretty much dragged him and said, help me, what should I do? And he said, Devin's in there, but he's in no way connected to that class. He's not a part of that class at all. He's separate. He doesn't know what's going on. Those kids are over there, he's over there. So I was like, okay, right, we'll change it. The teacher luckily listened. We changed it the first day. It still blows my mind. The next day he went to school and he was not distressed ever again. He was happy, he would run in, just from taking the separate centre and putting him front and centre in the classroom. The other part that I thought, I'm going to test Daryl because, you know, you hear lots of things. We had spent nearly 200 grand on early intervention. Like, my husband was like, nah, we're not paying any more money. Like, what is this guy? Is he really the real deal? So, Devin used to always pat the television, especially if it was Thomas or whatever. So we would always just have this patting of the TV. Early intervention gave me no strategies to try and solve this problem. So I go, Daryl, right, so tell me, what can we do to stop Devin patting the TV? And I was like, he's not going to give me anything. Like, this is going to test him. So he goes, well, get your chucks, get your spray and wipe bottle. He's leaving fingerprints all over the TV. He has to clean it. Like, he was pre-primary. So I'm like, oh, yeah, right. This is not going to work in a bloop. I'm sure you were there for 2 hours and we'd stopped patting the TV. So it was that instant. Cleaned it maybe twice, 3 times. Never patted the TV ever again. So we need to say we were convinced. Daryl showed our family the research and evidence that you've seen this morning. The history, all the slides that you've seen that support inclusive education. For the first time, I had informed choice. If no research or study had ever shown segregation to be better for kids than inclusion, then I wanted inclusion. Plus, I also saw the change in my son after one day, one change, and he was so much happier. Oh, hang on, sorry. Go back. Getting ahead of myself. Okay, primary school was, in all honesty, pretty hard work. We had some great years and some not so great. The key ingredient we had, though, was the right relationship between our family, the school, and Daryl from Pledge. The school respected our family's ideas on inclusion and had Daryl in for workshops and training to help the teachers, the staff, the EAs. And we actually, in part, contributed to the closing of the Ed Support Centre that they had there. There was a centre there, but they didn't force us to go there. We were choosing inclusion and they were fully supportive of parental choice. And the Ed Support Centre shut when Devin was in grade 3. It was no longer wanted. We had demonstrated what was possible and the school jumped off the cliff and shut it and everyone was included in the classroom. The best part of primary school for us and for Devin was the other students. They just naturally got inclusion. Devin was a valued member of his school community, even with very limited language. Technology like the Tough Book and iPad also ensured he was pretty cool. Okay, moving to high school was scary. Very, very scary. I actually felt like I had a bit of control at Castletown because I was a teacher and I had taught there and they did what I said, really, so that was good. I'm not a control freak. We went to year 8 with 12 months of planning and transition. If we were doing it, I was going to make sure that everything was in place to support it. We tried to build the right relationship by being supportive, offering Daryl's developmental assistance. We even ran a small get-to-know Devin session with the teaching staff. I don't really want to waste much time on going into what went wrong. We had chosen a small private school because we thought the smaller school would be better for Devin. The mainstream high school, or the public high school, is nearly 1,000 students. That was pretty much why we went to the private school. Devin tried really hard with the big change. He really, really tried hard. The students were still welcoming and inclusive. I mean, you can see, he's like in there. The principal did not want the right relationship with families. His attitude was, it's my way or no way. Devin let us know through his behaviour when things weren't right. So this is a really important part for me. For children that have communication issues, behaviour is the way they let us know that something is not right. We need to listen to our children. We don't change the kid. Okay? We change the situation or the teaching strategies, and then the behaviours go down. We pulled Devin out of Year 8 for fourth term. They did us a huge favour. At the time, it didn't seem that way, but because what we found at Esperance Senior High School was about 1 million times better than anything that they could have offered. So obviously, just I wanted to show that out of great upset, because it was a huge trauma for our family and all the effort that we'd gone to, can come amazing transformation. It's not don't give up on inclusion. It's like, okay, that's not right for my son. Now, what am I going to try? Don't give up. I knew what we could do. Informative choice is powerful. We never wavered once we knew the research and evidence. I just had to find the right school that was going to support Devin and work out his learning the way that he best learned. So that's just a really brief thing. Obviously, there was quite a bit more angst that was involved, but we move on. Okay, Esperance Senior High School had an education support centre. We never set one foot in there. The school from the very first meeting respected our choice for inclusion. I had made a book all about me. Now here we go, testing I have to show because it is pretty good. Okay, so first meeting, we rock up. Didn't take Devin because we were obviously talking about things. We wanted to show some stuff. So what better to do than a book, a PowerPoint, talking from him. So I'll just go through. That's pretty much his family. That's his sister Courtney. She loves horses. That's why we're really poor. That's Dev. Some of the things that he likes. He likes to see his friends. I mean, that's the private high school. Kids were awesome. We went into really specifics. If you just have a read, we actually really told them a lot of stuff. This wasn't wishy-washy. It was actually, right, we're going to tell them some stuff in this. And they're going to give it to all the teachers that are going to work with them. Okay. Again, test me with pictures to match concepts I will understand. I really like matching things. I learned to write my name through matching. I figure out patterns and colours. Lots of information that really helped them to work out how they could start. Oh, I love that photo. That's him there in that pile of kids at Castletown. A bit about the brain, challenging him, what's abstract, what he needs to work on, what would be helpful for him. Some really good information that helped them, I think. Talked about his sensory issues. So he had sensory issues, food, that we had worked hard to change. Talked about the exercise, which he doesn't really do, doesn't get weighting. It was good information, and they're easy to do. You just put your photos, you put your information that's specific to your kid, and also the noises that he makes, which can be a little off-putting, obviously, when you first meet him. But then, don't give up. Just might need a little break, or, it's okay if you tell me to be quiet. Don't be afraid. Just tell me. Oh, the not wearing clothes thing, which luckily he's got over because now he's 18. So the iPad, the apps, a bit about the relationship with me, with his dad. Also, not just getting hung up on autism. Okay, there's lots of DVD, there's lots of different things. Everyone's different. Take me as a person. Look at me as a person first. And also, when he's in a new situation, how that can actually upset him and cause some behaviours to come out. But that's not me. Just let me sort of get to know where I am, and then you'll see the real me. Just some ideas showing of him actually working, that he could work. Being bang on the head. Okay, so that was the PowerPoint. Now this is going to happen. maybe? Oh yeah, yay. Okay, so we were direct in our initial meetings. The time has gone off, so you might have to just help me with my timing. We explained Devin's developmental level, his communication issues, and how he works best in certain situations. We showed some examples of universal design so they could see what we meant. We explained that our goal with each learning activity was to also have a social outcome for Devin. So he works with a partner or in a group, and he shares his work with others. The school wanted our input and our ideas on how best to support Devin during transition, because obviously he hadn't been at school for 5 months as well. So, it's not like going from grade 7 to year 8. We actually, had a miss. He was home. I was doing a developmental program that Andrew talked about to keep him up with some skills. But it had been a long time that he'd been out of this actual school situation. We also assured them that we would always be available to help no matter what. So parents or senior partners. We started out with the right relationship between the school and home, and that just got stronger the longer we went along. We started slowly. I spent the first 2 weeks in the car park, parked in my car. I was so nervous. I just sat there, and people brought me coffee. If something went wrong, I had to be there. There wasn't that trust yet, but it came. Devin had breaks when needed to start, not because he was not wanted in the classroom. He just hadn't been in school for 5 months and he needed some transition time. He would have a little break, but was still required to work on curriculum-based activities. It was not an escape. The more he was included, though, in the classrooms, the less breaks that he actually needed. Okay, so this is the good stuff. We developed a learning model together. The school always wanted to do better, to include Devin more, especially in curriculum. We would select teachers and subjects that fit in with Devin's specific interests. Bushrangers, art, gift making, cafe cuisine, photography, fashion. He also did core subjects such as maths, English, and either S&E or science, and health. We discovered some fantastic teachers, and the more Devin was included, the more teachers came on board. They could literally see his development in front of their eyes. Devin would do a hands-on task based on the curriculum, similar to a project. He would then type up a recount or a procedure of what he had done. He would often be required to write or copy his typing. We did want to keep him forming letters and writing, so this is just a book review. So it's all typed by Devin, printed out, all the questions, all the answers, and then there's a line for him to actually then practice some writing. Okay. Okay. He would then use his iPad to share what he had done. This is the basic model, but how it played out was individualised and designed by teachers. Okay. The school became so expert at universal design that they even surpassed my ideas. I was heavily involved during years 9 and 10, but after that, their ideas were so much better than mine. Poster book reviews, health games, making a terrarium, mosaics for S&E, visual recipes, logbook for work placement, using photos of Devin to design paintings for art, making books of different concepts, 3D models, which I have them all here. So just for an example, this is one that he made in art. It's dinosaurs, which was still a real interest of his, hands and feet matching game. And he had to do, he had on his iPad, he shared, he asked the class to have a go with him, and he also had they printed out what was on the iPad so that he had a visual representation as well. This one was a really kind of simple one that I liked. So there's a close activity, jumbled letters. For him to try and unjumble letters, I think it was about something to do with Australia for S&E. That would have been pretty hard. He would have needed actually someone to sit with him and help him do that. But always the idea was independence, completing activities as much as you could on your own. So they then made another sheet which actually had the numbers and what the actual words were. So number 1 was Sydney. So all he then had to do was actually find number 1, that's Sydney. Number 2 is kangaroo. So that's the modification that they made, so he could do the exact same activity as the rest of the class. They followed the model, so Devin also knew the model. A multi-sensory approach to learning, hands-on activity, typing or written element, and high social goal for every activity. Devin would tell his class what he was doing, ask them to help him, and then present afterwards what had been done. They had small groups of kids come up with Dev, and they would share their likes and dislikes. So he would say, I like boardies and I like arashi, and the kids would say what clothes they like to wear or things that they like to do. So I can't obviously show you every single bit of video I have, because I have a lot. But yeah, they just extended it and kept extending it. Being able to film everything on the iPad was also wonderful. We could see into the school, and they wanted us to see. This was a very powerful part of the right relationship. They don't have anything to hide, they were open. The videos and photos also show his growth and development, his increasing confidence and less reliance on holding a calming toy or needing that flick that he had in the first video I showed. His skill set developed too, so he tried paper mache and he's got sensory issues, so that was a huge thing. Painting, cooking, writing, designing projects, pulling weeds. I still can't believe he did that for bushrangers. Independently showing his iPad. So many different skills that he did. It took 2 years before Devin got in a kayak for bushrangers. The bushrangers teacher, Mr. Snow, stayed patient. It worked. Devin really learned to trust the staff through their actions. They were trustworthy. He'd obviously been burnt before. We didn't know this, but he'd been burnt before, and it took them a while to earn that trust. Once this trust happened, he would literally try anything they suggested. During year 11 and 12 on Mondays, am I going for time? Devin participated in a workplace placement program. Again, our right relationship between the school and the home allowed natural supports with myself and my husband, as well as our plumbing team to support Devin. Devin learnt some key jobs such as making soak wells, shredding in the office, mail pickup and delivery. We again had social goals with work placement, with Devin going to different job sites, banks and post office and saying hi to people. He even started to deliver invoices. We did a student logbook with photos and information. I would write down, and then Devin would take it to school and type up the information so as to keep a journal. So this is his book, and it has photos in as well of the different things that he was doing. All these skills were with the idea and plan for life after school, which was coming at us pretty fast. At the end of year 11, the school had an exhibition in the library to showcase all of Devin's work and his efforts during the year. They even coordinated the timing with when Courtney, our daughter, was home from uni, so she could see it too. It was unbelievable. The same learning model was used to set up the exhibition. It wasn't just the EA set it up and Dev was there. He was involved in setting it up. He invited classmates and teachers to come. I'll show you again. Here we go, because it seems to be working okay, so let's go with it.
I am putting a display of my work in the library. This will show samples of my work from all my subjects. It is to celebrate all my hard work this year. My display will be on show all of next week. I hope you can go to the library to see it. If you would like to leave your comments, there will be forms available. Thank you for listening.
Okay, he was a valued school member. He was considered a learner. The title of the display was Celebration of Personal Excellence. I've got the framed poster over there that they had front and centre. It was a celebration of personal excellence. He was being recognised for all his hard work because he had worked really hard. The school was so expert at universal design, though, that they got everyone who visited to give feedback. They made cards for thumbs up and high five, which Dev had been going on since kindy. And then they made the they got Devin to make the feedback cards into a book, because by this stage he could laminate and bind independently. And so we have this record of all the comments and all the feedback we got from his exhibition, from everyone, with high five and thumbs up, which was just what he loved. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so I have to show this as a fantastic example of universal design. An amazing idea was the 3D models for science. How do you access inclusion with high-level concepts in Year 11? Plant and animal cells. Devin did pre-work on animal and plant cells using matching games, which he's very, very good at. That's his skill set. So, plant cell, animal cells. Characteristics and the cell parts. He looked at the parts in each cell. He then made the most amazing and huge 3D models to represent both an animal and a plant cell. There they are. They were made out of like polystyrene. These models, and I couldn't bring them because they're now used for younger students in the school as a resource when they're studying these concepts, to visually show the cells so they can see what they look like. So they started making models and information that stayed at school for other students to access and use, because not everyone could just learn from a piece of paper as well. So it's just really amazing what they thought of. Okay, Year 12. Scary. Yes, Year 12 was fantastic, with some grey hairs for us all, both school and home, but we were in it together. How would we approach the ball and graduation? But the trust was established by Devin and by us. It was a partnership by all, which gave us amazing experiences during Year 12. One I'll actually address after lunch. You can see the ball, graduation. He received awards at the end of school assembly for cafe cuisine, art and fashion, and that's his leaver's jacket. The middle one is after lunch. Good, it's a surprise. Okay. Finally, and briefly, as I'm sure I'm out of time, we worked hard during the last half of Year 12 on setting up Devin in his own business. All the skills he had learnt at school and work placement we used to give him valued roles in his business, and also for him to be able to work independently as possible. And if I can just say, the shredding with the shredder came from Devin as a little guy, just always loved to rip paper. That was a calming thing for him. He would just rip paper. So a natural conclusion is, well, what does that mean? Well, shredding, it's like his dream job. I get paid to shred. I've been shredding for years. We just have to be a little bit careful with money. It's not left on the bench because everything shreds. We did learn a few things as we went along. Okay, the idea is that Devin can do these small jobs like, I'm like advertising. Shredding, laminating, mail pickup and delivery. We can even deliver your coffee. He can do all these jobs cheaper than a business might already employ someone to do. So if an accounting firm is paying someone more an hour, Dev could go in, pick up their mail, take it to the post office, post it, go to their post office box, deliver their mail back to them, call in, grab a coffee and deliver it back to the office. Who wouldn't want that as a business? Okay, and we get the social connection for Devin. He goes to different places, he meets different people. We are blown away with the support we are getting. In fact, Devin is getting so busy we might need to employ someone to do the shredding because he doesn't have time. He has some really cool young guys supporting him. They're aged between 19 and 21. And they are introducing him to music, which is a real bonus for us as well. His first customer for his business was Mr. Snow, his bushrangers teacher, who gets mail delivered to high school every day. The high school also emailed and have employed Devin to stamp their order books because they are missing him so much. They just want to keep him coming back. Okay, here we go, last one. He and we have found a meaningful and happy life that is continuing to surprise us in the experiences we are having. Thank you. Don't forget to have a look.